So some huge moves happened with the Golden State Valkyries that could again be huge for the Indiana Fever. And we have talked about this previously, and it's now looking more concrete that the Fever, not that the Fever should do anything, but that the Fever are going to do, but that the Golden State Valkyries are effectively open for business. Before we get on to that, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We are trying to hit 42,500 subscribers by the end of the day. We're only 11 subscribers off. Thank you guys so much for all the support recently. But, we got to talk about this. So, the Golden State Valkyries have just signed their first players. Those players being Monique Billings, who I'm guessing is probably around 150k, Julie Van Loo, and Veronica Burton. They signed Veronica Burton to a training camp contract and Julie Van Loo to a training camp contract. What does that mean? It's not guaranteed money, and they're on the minimum. They signed them to a minimum. They're on the minimum contract, even if they are picked up. Assuming both of them are going to be picked up, they will be there on a minimum contract. If you are a Fever fan, this allows two things to happen. It allows two things to happen. What it allows is it allows Julie Van Loo to be traded directly for somebody like a Christy Wallace. It allows them to take on Julie Van Loo at a minimum. So in any trade, if you're going for Julie Van Loo, you can match salaries. You can send them Jaylen Brown. You can match salaries with anybody if you want to give up some maybe second round draft capital for Julie Van Loo to get a backup point guard. That gives you a veteran backup point guard who can play the 1, who can play the 2, and you literally just have to trade a minimum salary for. So that would be an ideal scenario. And as well as that, it means this team is barely spending any money. As of right now, Kate Martin is on a minimum contract. She is on a minimum. Veronica Burton is on a minimum. Julie Van Loo is on a minimum. Because of the deal that Ileana Rupert was on, still on her rookie deal, when she went off when she stopped playing, she will be there on a minimum. Maria Conde, injured. Steph Talbot is on a very, very team-friendly contract. So is Kale Thornton, around the 100k. I'm guessing Temi and Monique Billings around 150k. This team has, I'm not joking when I say this, the guts of $1 million to play around with for like 7 players. And if you look at free agency, they basically have like 4 max contracts to give out. And look at free agency. The best players remaining: Izzy Harrison, Tiffany Hayes. Tiffany Hayes might be worth close to a max. Kennedy Carter. And that's it. I would assume the Dallas Wings are going to still have a whack career. Like, Emily Engstler was signed to a reserve contract. Elena Deladon's not going there. So they literally have 4 max contracts to give out. And they're not going to do something dumb like give Mercedes Russell or Izzy Harrison a max contract. Parker Tice is probably going to Vegas. They're not going to give Erica Wheeler a max. They're not going to pay Taurasi, and Taurasi's not going to go there either. Like, none of these players, other than maybe Tiffany Hayes, are going to go there for the max. So, with how few free agents there are available and how much money this team has, there is literally a minimum amount of money. This team needs to pay the minimum. And now, with the fact that I thought they would have, I didn't realize that, like, Julie Van Loo and Veronica Burton were going to sign the minimum contracts. I did not think they were going to sign it. I thought they were going to overpay. I thought, obviously, they offered the reserved qualifying offer. I didn't think they were going to accept it. I didn't think they were going to accept the qualifying offer and get paid the minimum. So you've now, again, got a whole team of players other than Temi, Billings, like Thornton and Talbot making the minimum. Or there or thereabouts to the minimum. And that's if everyone comes back. So how many players do they have? They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They got 8 definites coming back. And of those 8 definites coming back, what? They average out at under 100,000 each for all of them. Like, they're going to have about, for the last 4 spots, they're going to have literally all max contracts. So there is why would they? So basically they have a choice. They can either sign the likes of Mercedes Russell, who is not very good, to max contracts, or you can take toxic assets for picks. For example, and it's going to be, what contracts can you take? You're looking at teams there near the top of the WNBA that are trying to get off players. I reckon... Who's making too much money? One of the... I think they're going to end up taking at least one of the Mystics players. I think they're going to end up taking at least one of them. Maybe like a Steph Dolson, because the Mystics are trying to lose. They're trying to get off players, and I don't think anyone else will be able to trade for Steph Dolson. So I think they'll get off. They might get off Steph Dolson, but it might cost an asset for Dolson. Like the toxic contract is Katie Lou. Like that is the toxic contract in the WNBA, and that's the problem. Is like there's no other real bad contracts. But even just getting for some teams, trying to get somebody like if things don't work during the season. If things aren't working out, because these are all on 1-year deals, and somebody wants to get off a player during the season and maybe sign a player from overseas after Eurobasket or something. Like, who is a bad contract? You know what? Tierra McCown might be a bad contract. If the Dallas Wings can find some sort of way of getting a better center and they're stuck with Tierra, and the only way they can do that is by getting off Tierra McCown's $200K contract, I reckon they could give up a second to get off Tierra McCown. Give you a Tierra McCown, take a second. Katie Lou Samuelson, you could probably take a first with Katie Lou Samuelson, honestly, because it's going to be a late first. Who else is a bad contract? None really I can see. Obviously, Katie Lou is terrible. Dolson's they're not going to want to get off Dolson. They're not going to want to get off Beck Allen. The Chicago Sky, you know what? Like, honestly, the Chicago Sky might see another point guard spot free up and just say, we don't want to pay Mariah Jefferson $140K a year to come off the bench. I know she's a vet, and I think they're happy with Mariah Jefferson. But maybe, obviously, Lindsay Allen's gone. If Dana Evans is gone, maybe they're just like, someone good comes up that's available. And just as a way of matching contracts, they end up, the Valkyries go into a 3-team trade. They take the bad contract of Mariah Jefferson. They get a pick from that. So like that's what they're gonna do. Again, as I've said, maybe they'll take a Jessica Shepard just to get some cash money, for the Lynx to maybe afford MMS a man. Like that is a genuine thing. Like Kia Stokes' contract's okay. Anything other than here, there's no point really. There's no point at all, in my opinion, going for anything under here. Any of these players. So any players on a little bit of a bad rookie deals maybe, where they can go to a full max. Maybe if Dallas are really stuck for the salary cap, which I don't think they'll be, they might take Lou Lopez Seneschal's salary, because I don't see her playing much this year. Like she didn't play much last year. So with that, like, it's a big one. Like it is a absolute big one for the likes of the Fever. I think the Lynx, like it's not just the Fever, it is the Fever, it is the Lynx. But like I think the two of those teams are like title contenders that have bad contracts on their roster. Like if you are a title contender with a bad contract on your roster, the Golden State Valkyries have the money to take that bad contract, but you're going to have to give up draft capital, and the Golden State Valkyries should be trying to hoard draft capital. So with the fact that Julie Van Leeuwen's been confirmed she's on the minimum, when I made this video earlier, I thought they would have a little bit of money. I didn't think they would have literal max contracts for slots for every other position on their team. And they have to give out like 3 max contracts, otherwise they're not going to hit a minimum salary. So why not just take in a bunch of bad contracts from other teams and get draft capital for allowing the other teams to have more flexibility? I think it's a big one. It is a really, really big one, and I didn't think it was going to be this blatant, but it is. So anyway, I'll see you guys.